Hey guys, I wanted to showcase a build I've been working on for the last 50 or so levels, leveling up to level 100 through nightmare dungeons and some demise farms. Mainly nightmare dungeons though, and the build I came upon was a rain of arrows rapid fire build. The reason for why I decided to go with this build was because I didn't see many creators talking about rain of arrows at all. I think it's being neglected quite a bit, and it's a super fun skill that I just wanted to use to be different while I was playing in different groups of people to kind of spice up the grind and to show people some awe of a build that looks really cool. And how I did that was I ran the Word of Hakan amulet, which um, imbues my rain of arrows with every single imbuement. And I also came across this helm that I rolled, which has +4 to every single imbuement. This isn't very necessary for the build. I think if you could get Shadow and Poison on a helm, that would be amazing. The Cold isn't that necessary. I just wanted all three for the flex. How this build functions is by using Rapid Fire, which is a core skill. I'm not using a basic skill, I don't need to. With Rapid Fire actually self-sustains itself without any aspect, just with the improved Rapid Fire upgrade, which you gain 15 energy per cast of Rapid Fire when damaging a vulnerable enemy. We are damaging vulnerable enemies by using the Vulnerable Glyph, which I highly recommend leveling up to level 15 and slotting it in as soon as possible. Then I'm also applying Vulnerable by using Concealment, which allows me to apply Vulnerable for 6 seconds on any ability after I cast it. More on this later, it's a tech I'm using with the build. So with Rapid Fire, we're able to proc Preparation extremely quickly because Rapid Fire, each cast of it is using 25 energy, and all it takes is 4 casts to proc Preparation once, which will get our Rain of Arrows cooldown decreasing very fast, probably one of the fastest out of any skills you can use, because even though Rapid Fire is self-sustaining itself, it still costs 25 energy per cast. On this build, we don't have that much mobility. I kind of wanted to play a build that utilized all 3 imbuements. You could swap out the cold imbuement for a dash or a shadow step if you like, anything really. It's not too important. I just felt like I didn't really need them. I was pushing high nightmare dungeons and I was going with the kind of slow pace anyways, so I just went with the cold imbuement and I didn't actually use a dash. We have a form of unstoppable with concealment, so there isn't a real need for shadow step either. Um, so yeah, let me go over the skill tree. So as for a skill tree, we're not using puncture, we don't need to. We have rapid fire, and we're taking improved rapid fire to basically have infinite mana. We're going to take a stuttering step, which helps our movement speed problem because we don't have any dashes. And we're taking sturdy, and we're also taking siphoning strikes. We're taking siphoning strikes because as a rogue, and even as a ranged rogue, you're in melee a lot of the time, and it's totally fine to be in melee as a ranged rogue. It doesn't really differ from the melee rogues at all. I don't mind being in melee at all. And this passive is extremely strong. It just basically makes it so that you never have to use a potion. Going down to the agility tree, we're only picking up weapon mastery. We're not taking anything else from this tree. In subterfuge, I'm picking up agile. Not many people use agile. I like agile just for the 12% dodge chance. It's quite nice. The way I like to see it is that's basically 12% reduced damage, I guess you could say. I know it isn't really, but in other games I really like dodge chance, and in this game I don't see why I wouldn't have this dodge chance. It's pretty much up the entire time. We're always using cooldowns in this build. Another skill we're taking is concealment. One of the reasons I'm taking concealment is because it gives us a burst of movement whenever we do want any movement. It also comes along with its own unstoppable. But one of the main reasons for using it is, in this build, after we use each of our imbuements in the start of a combo, taking out packs using each of the imbuements, the thing we can do then is we can actually go into concealment, line up the perfect rain of arrows, and this rain of arrows, as it hits the entire screen, because of concealment, it is going to make every single enemy vulnerable, and then it's going to completely annihilate all of them with all of the imbuements stacked up on top of it. When you cast Rain of Arrows then, all of your imbuements come back off of cooldown, including concealment, so you have 2 uses of an unstoppable in your combo while playing the game. So to continue on, after concealment, we're going to pick up 3 points in exploit, 3 points in malice, I have 5 points in Shadow Imbuement, and we're going with Blended Shadow Imbuement just for more vulnerable. I like to have multiple different ways of rocking vulnerable on enemies just because of how strong it is for every single class in the game. I just want to make it so the vulnerable is up all of the time. We're also taking 5 points in Poison Imbuement, and we're taking the Blended Poison Imbuement with precision imbuement and all of the crit that we do have. We crit quite a lot, so it makes our poisons hit for a ton of damage. I'm actually not taking any points in cold imbuement, and we're still at 7 ranks. That's why I have it on my bar. I have a lot of stats on my gear and in the Paragon board that increases imbued skill damage. So even though cold imbuement isn't the best skill ever, when it is applied to our rapid fire, it's still 2 casts of rapid fire doing a ton more damage, and also it can be used to deal with tricky elites like freeze elites or shock elites, and anything that you want to say, no, I don't want you to play, I want to kill you and you not interact with me, you can just hit this button and use it on them, and it works great for that. Then down to ultimates, we're taking Rain of Arrows, we're taking both passives, and we're also picking up 1 point in Adrenaline Rush, which isn't that important, just to pick up 3 points in Haste, because we don't have any movement abilities. I want to be able to have a fast movement speed just to get around the place. So having the triple haste with permanent energy, because rapid fire never runs out, it's really, really nice. And then down to our final skill key passive is Precision, because no other passive really makes sense, and Precision is just nice. It's a little bit of extra damage as you're playing at this range build. As for Paragon Board, I have a D4 builds planner down in the description below, which has a more clean version of this planner. I was kind of building this as I played. I think it turned out pretty good, but I'm no connoisseur of the Paragon Board. I kind of just go with the flow and try to experiment and test out different things, and this Paragon Board is the conclusion I came to after leveling to 100. I haven't even put in all of my points because I do plan to respec into a build to kill Uber Lilith pretty soon. But yeah, so this build in the starter board, it takes Ranger. Ranger's really nice. Damage reduction, amazing. I love stacking damage reduction, and I also like life. I currently have 14,000 life on my rogue with no buffs up, and I have a ton of damage reduction too, because when I'm playing with my friends, I see them dying all the time, and I think it's just because they don't stack enough into their defenses, and they have 4 times less life than me or so. So I think stacking life and also stacking damage reduction is a huge quality of life, and I think you guys should focus on it if you haven't been focusing on it already. So yeah, this gives damage reduction, it gives marksman skill damage, that's what we're doing. We have marksman skills, and we're using a ranged weapon, so it's damage reduction, it's amazing. Onto the next board, we're going with the No Witnesses board, and on this board we're going to head straight for this glyph and put in Exploit. Exploit is amazing, it's the best glyph in the game, you have to get it, level it up to 15 first and slot it in. It just gives you so much damage, it helps with your clear, it is amazing, and it is extremely required for this build. It's just great in every single build that you could play in the game too, so it's definitely worth leveling up for any kind of build you're going to play. We then path up towards No Witnesses, because this makes our ultimate deal 30% more damage, and it also makes us do 10% more damage for the next 20 seconds. And one thing that's amazing, that is, even when we use all of our cooldowns, because we're rocking Preparation, when we use our ultimate, all of our cooldowns come up again. So we have 3 imbuements to use, and we can just blast and do a ton more damage. After we're done with this board, we're going to path into the Cheap Shot board. I'm pathing into the Cheap Shot board because the hardest thing to deal with in the game, in my opinion, is the elites, especially later on in Nightmare Dungeons and the higher world tiers. So we're going to path through here to get some damage reduction from the elites. You can choose to go pick up the Cheap Shot Legendary if you want, if you're playing in a group with like sorceresses that freeze and stuff like that. I don't really, I'm mainly playing on my own, and because I'm playing a rapid fire build, it has a really bad lucky hit chance, so I don't have much spec'd into CC via lucky hit, which is normally how rogues get their CC, or traps. So I'm avoiding this because in my build, other than Cold Imbuement, which I don't use that much, I don't CC enemies too much. So I'm not picking it up. You can if you're playing in a group. You could just take out the points from anywhere else. There's loads of points to take out of. Use your intuition and slot it in if you want. But past through Cheap Shot, we're going to go and grab the Combat Glyph. The Combat Glyph is amazing because it's just crit strike damage, and it's also helping the sustain of your core skill if it's needed. I don't think it's needed with Rapid Fire, but this is just such an amazing glyph anyways, it helps if it is needed. We're then going to path into the Exploit Weakness board, and in this board we're going to go and grab Infusion. Infusion is pretty awesome for this build because it's a ton of extra imbued skill damage, and our Rapid Fire is imbued all the time, and so is a Rain of Arrows, so it's amazing. And every time we cast an imbuement, it reduces the cooldown of one of our other imbuements by half a second, which doesn't sound like much, but we're running all three, so every single rotation of all of your imbuements, you're cutting off 1.5 seconds of the cooldown of one of your imbuements, which is kind of nice, and it's a ton of damage anyways. Later on, we path over here for some vulnerable damage. You don't need to go for this right now, but later it's quite nice. We also path up here for more damage to elites, because elites are one of the biggest problems in the game. You're not going to really have a problem with white mobs, but elites are super important to deal with. And then onto the final board, we actually don't pick up another glyph. We go into the Eldritch Battery board, and we just path here to grab some imbuement damage, some non-physical damage, which this build does a ton of non-physical damage. We're going to grab the Eldritch Bounty legendary node, which gives us resistances and gives us a ton of damage, especially when we're using a Rain of Arrows. That is a ton of damage for a Rain of Arrows and a Rapid Fire while we're playing throughout the game. Deal with the Busher, preparation doesn't actually work as well, so what I would do as a recommendation when you are dealing with the Busher, just switch to inner sight, and then you will have infinite mana while fighting. Good way to deal with it. Because you can't have vulnerability stacked forever on him in this build, because he's quite a tanky enemy compared to every other enemy in the game. So I just switched to inner sight while dealing with the Butcher, and then afterwards, just switch back to preparation.